show a little differently. I'd like to say Happy Veterans Day to everybody out there. You know, I support the military. I support everybody who's ever fought in the military. You know, I come from a military family, you know. So we'll just start off with I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. What's up, good people to the world? Tonight on the show, we have MMA fighters fresh off wins from USFFC 29. Two fighters will be coming on tonight, Derrick Kennington and Derrick Brown. And both of them fought for Brian Scalfani, and they both won their fight last Saturday night on pay-per-view. So it's going to be great to be talking to them. And Derrick Kennington will be on at 7:05, and Derrick Brown will be on at 7:30. Just real quick, I got a couple things to go over. Tonight's show is sponsored tonight, especially for this show, by Defend Clothing Company. And that's defendclothingco.com. You can find them on Instagram at Defend Clothing and Facebook at Defend Clothing Co. They are a streetwear company influenced by MMA, guns, and tattoos. Their goal is to grow to the point where they can support MMA as a sport and local fighters. Also, for a limited time deal, $5 from every sale of their black shirt goes to Mike Fink. He's a wheelchair MMA student who's actually, they're trying to get him a new wheelchair. So that's defendclothingco.com, Defend Clothing Company, Instagram, Defend Clothing, and Facebook at Defend Clothing Co. It's a great company. I checked it out. Some nice stuff. So, everybody head over there. And one more thing. Tomorrow night, Stamford, Connecticut, As Darkness Dies, and Soldiers of Solace will be at Jimmy Seaside. Actually, it's called Seaside Tavern now, down on Cove Road in Stamford, right off Exit 9. Show starts at 8 o'clock. Go on the internet, look it up, for all information, where to park, anything you guys might need. That's tomorrow night, Stamford, Connecticut, Seaside Tavern. As Darkness Dies, friends of the Hollering with Hammer Show, those guys have been great to us. I will be there. I will go live, Facebook Live, for one song on Victory Lane Radio's Facebook, and then I'm going to go live a lot, do different things live from the Hollering with Hammer page and my personal page tomorrow night. So as we wait for Derrick Kennington to call in a few minutes, what do you say? I mean, Donald Trump's the president, like it or not. I personally like it. I've been a deplorable for years. They didn't call me deplorable. They called me a gabon, a scumbag, a jerk off. But now we're called deplorables. I kind of like that word. I will be going into that a lot more into the future. And, maybe after the Derrick Brown interview tonight, I can get into it a little bit. But I'm very excited to have Trump as the president. We'll see where it takes us. I was not excited when Obama became president twice. But what I did was I didn't go riot shit. And I didn't, go to my mommy and cry and make mommy, make me a sandwich and tell me everything will be okay. No, I went to work, actually. And I stayed working. Didn't complain. I let my taxes go up. I let the insurance system just get screwed, but I continued to work, and I made the best of it. So I'm looking forward to a change. I'm looking forward to a new, a whole new look. Can he do it? I don't know. I don't know if Trump can do it, but we all knew what Hillary has done. So whatever, people, make the best of it. That's all we can do. Just make the best of it. I got a feeling it's going to be great. He talks a lot of stuff he talks. I I personally want, I want the highways fixed up. I want the roads fixed up, stuff like that. I want immigration dealt with. So we'll see where that takes us. Also this weekend, in Arizona, if you're in that area, is the Pitch for Kids event that the Hollering with Hammer Show on VictoryLaneRadio.com is involved in. They're a great organization. That's Rod Beck's wife, Major League Baseball player who passed away, and she has an organization for the children, sick children, and she actually invited me out to her event in Arizona this weekend, but obviously I'm not going to be able to make it. So live right now on VictoryLaneRadio.com, the Hollering with Hammer Show, is Derrick Kennington coming off an impressive win at USFFC 29. Derrick, how you doing tonight?
Hey, good. How are you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm fired up, man. Listen, you took care of business. You took care of business Saturday night. I mean, you had a lot of people who didn't personally know you watching that fight because of the obvious, the tragedy with the Brian Scalfani situation that took place the week before your fight. And you had a lot of people watching. I was personally watching on a cell phone. And, why don't you go ahead and just, if you want to break it down a little bit and, tell us what you thought, walking into that ring that night, and we'll go from there.
All right. Yeah, man. A lot of emotion was riding behind the fight. Not only was Brian in my heart, in my mind, or whatever leading up to the fight, but it was also the first time my mom and my daughter both had been were at my fight as well. Like physically. My daughter has seen me fight. My mom has seen me fight. But just over television or through live stream or whatnot. So. For this fight alone, I had my daughter. She actually walked out to the ring with me. She was actually able to come backstage, and she was able to watch me warm up and me go through that transformation that I go through backstage from the nice, loving, caring father and joking and always, making fun jokes and cracks and stuff like that. She watched me go for that transformation to I look at myself as like a stone cold killer, man, by the time I walk into the cage, because, honestly, by the time I walk in there, it's like, it's me or him, man. It's just, it has gotten to a point to where I don't really care, whatever happens into the fight, whether, he comes out able-bodied or not. Honestly, I really do not care. He signed a contract to fight me, and that's a big disrespect on me. So I just go in there and just do my thing and, hope I come out the victor on the other end, and hopefully, he ends up, safe or whatnot. And as you can tell from the fight, I don't take any, I don't hold any punches. I hit him with an up jab. So I hit him with a left up jab and then a straight right hand, and folded him like a lawn chair, if you will, in the first round. I'm not really sure about the time frame, but I want to say it was a little bit over 2 minutes into the first round. But it was really cool to have my daughter there, have my mom there, have my girlfriend there, have my sister there, and my family, and just, for my daughter to see what takes place behind scenes, like she saw me warming up backstage, and, she saw me, walk out. She was with me at the walkout, and, I told her, I don't ever, a lot of these UFC guys, a lot of fighters in general, they walk out, and the first thing the guy says to him, he's like, hey, turn around, he's like, hug whoever you got to hug or whatever. He's like, and then, you get greased up, you put Vaseline on your face and whatnot. So I don't hug, we're not, I'm not there to hug. I'm not there to be friendly. I'm not there to, you know, say, hey, I love you, I'm going into battle or whatnot. No, we don't do that shit. You know, we come in there, and he, you know, the guy that checks me right before I walk into the cage is like, hey, do your hugs. I was like, nah, man, I don't do that shit. But I did turn around to my daughter and I say, hey, you ready? And her response is so like mine. It's so like just like hers as well. She's like, yep. And I just held up my fist, and, you know, we did a little pound or whatever. And we have this thing, you know, she's 11 years old, and we pound, you know, we blow it up, you know. And I was like, as soon as we did that, I was ready to go, man. You know, it was, I don't think anything could have stopped me that night, honestly. And
yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
At the end of that match, not to cut you off, but at the end of the match, your daughter, when you got to win, your daughter came out, and you might have yourself a future fighter there. She was standing next to you. You guys were posing with the fists up. That was a great opportunity. And
yeah,
your family
she's
came
a
up
good
and everything.
kid, man, and yeah, she's a good kid, and, you know, she trains Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. She's a gray belt. She's actually been training Jiu-Jitsu for a long time, but, you know, she's a softball girl. You know, she plays softball and stuff like that, so she doesn't really get to train as often as she should, or as often as I would like. But, you know, they're not, you know, right now they're not giving softball scholarship, or they're not giving Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu scholarships in college right now. So, you know, we'll focus on the softball. But as long as she knows enough Jiu-Jitsu to get her through, you know, some self-defense situations, I'll take it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think you're the perfect one to give those lessons. Now, I had touched on this with you, you know, off air, and I'd like to just come right out with it, and we could go from there. And you know, anything you want to add, anything you want to talk about, feel free. You were not given a fair shake by the commentators on the pay-per-view. Now, my personal take of it was, you know, your record and where you've been in the sport was a lot higher than pretty much anybody else on that card. You were they barely talked about your fight, first of all. Now, when your fight was coming out, it was all about your opponent and would he retire and would he, you know, and obviously you retired him very quickly. But during the fight, as you were going in, they were saying stuff like on the pay-per-view. They were saying stuff like, you know, oh, Derrick is not on his game tonight. He's being very slow, blah blah blah. And then you folded him up, like you said, a lawn chair, which was what I was going to say. You folded him up. It was over. And then right away, the commentator switched over to, wow, Derrick really had his timing on tonight. You know, Derrick's timing was impeccable tonight, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, wow, man, you know, you weren't saying that 2 minutes ago when the fight started. And then at the end of the fight, you know, I've been around long enough. I knew what you were doing. At the end of the fight, they rushed you off. You know, you brought your daughter up. You did your fight speech. And you had more to say. They rushed you off to get to him in his retirement speech, you know, whatever. I mean, you stayed around, you got back on, you talked about Brian, which was great. But how do you feel as a fighter when you look back on a pay-per-view, like you rewatch it, and you see, like, you know, you were a Bellator guy, you know, you have a name in that industry. How do you feel towards that? Or is it something that just doesn't bother you?
Man, it has happened to me so much throughout my career, you know, you know, I fought up in Maine a couple months ago, back in August. I fought in Maine, and, you know, it was for Dana White's reality TV show, you know, and Dana White was in the crowd and whatnot, and, you know, I wasn't even in the actual program that they had set out for everybody. I wasn't in the program. You know, after I did watch replayed the pay-per-view, you know, they talked about him. They didn't mention the fact that I was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. The fact that, you know, they did mention that I had trained with Kurt Pellegrino, but they didn't really mention the fact that I had fought Marcin Held in Bellator, who is now in the UFC. They didn't mention the fact that I fought Felipe Nova in Bellator, which is now in the UFC. They didn't mention the fact that I fought Chad Hinton, who is a Bellator tournament veteran, who I beat in the first round, who had only fought UFC veteran and Sports Illustrated cover guy, Roger Huerta, and that was the only guy to ever stop him. They didn't mention a lot of that stuff, and and that usually happens, man. It does. They want to. This kid that was his hometown, apparently, or whatnot, and but it was actually my hometown more than his. He was from Gastonia, North Carolina. He was a transplant to South Carolina by way of his gym that now he is not associated with. And he was also, not as big a name as fighter, and it was just, it is kind of smack in the face to me, sometimes, but I just take it with the punches and I just try to prove everybody wrong. And I kind of enjoy that atmosphere, where people think I'm the nobody or whatnot. I'm like, yo, dude, I've been at this thing for 10 years. 10 years I have been fighting. I've been fighting professionally since August of 2007. It's not like, August of next year, that'll be 10 years I've been fighting as a professional fighter. I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt under UFC legend Kurt Pellegrino. I've trained with a who's who of, striking coaches. I trained with, my old boxing coach back in Jersey was Mickey Red, who trained the late, great Arturo Gatti, and amongst other great fighters, one of which is Glenn Tapia, who's making a run for a title as well. I've trained with a lot of great guys, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I don't get a fair shake, but it's all good, man. It was the same way when I was a kid growing up and I was coming up through the ranks in baseball, football, and stuff like that. Nobody knew who I was because my dad, I wasn't from the town, you know what I'm saying? So, a lot of guys would make the all-star team just based on their dad's association with, who their dad was when they were, before they were even born, or when their dad was a kid playing high school ball and this, that, and the other, and they were good, So I just proved my spot, and then eventually, I was part of starting baseball team. I was part of starting the football team and whatnot, and then even got invited to speak at my alma mater just last year at the homecoming pep rally for my high school football team. I spoke a motivational speech to my high school team, and then later on after that, actually not just the high school team, the whole entire high school, which I wasn't a good kid, but my actions speak louder than my words, and I'm just, or my accomplishments, I should say. I'm just here to prove everybody wrong, man. I'm getting old in this game. I'm 33 years old. I feel like I've proven myself. A lot of people in the area know who the hell I am, and they're going to continue to know who the hell I am, because not only do I fight with a tenacity that's not really like many others, man. And I really do not give a shit if you leave that cage in a stretcher or if you walk out of there. I really don't give a fuck. So it's just that, right now it's, I'm trying to build my name back up in South Carolina. I built a name for myself in Jersey, and now I'm building my name back up in South Carolina.
Now you're down at the Fitness Edge MMA. You can find them on Facebook. This is the Hollering with Hammer Show on VictoryLaneRadio.com. And you're down there, so now you're training younger fighters. And I see a lot of the guys at your gym and the fights they're having. Now I want to touch that real quick, but just to get right back to that, I think on that pay-per-view, it should have been the commentators should have put it out more about the Bellator and about your career, and it would have made it would have pushed the pay-per-view more in my eyes. And that's how I see it. And obviously you came out and you proved them wrong instantly. so, that guy can go into retirement and whatever. But is there a future fight? Do you have your eyes on something, or is it just too early yet, just coming off that win?
No, man, I'm in talks with another promoter actually as we speak. I'm actually in downtown Charlotte right now, and I have another guy fighting tomorrow night in Charlotte. One of my up-and-coming 170 guys. He's actually a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under me as well. But he's fighting his third pro fight tomorrow night in Charlotte for his promotion called Fight Lab, and it's Fight Lab 53. I fought on Fight Lab 3 back in 2009, and I've been in talks with the promoter again, and I'm like, yo, man, hey, I'm here. I'm back in town, man. I'm not in Jersey no more. I'm in South Carolina. I can sell tickets, wherever, whether it's North Carolina or South Carolina. I have a pretty good fan base, and I sold around $3,500 worth of tickets for my last fight. And anytime there's a fight around in North or South Carolina, I usually do pretty well in ticket sales. So that's what I'm trying to push to these promoters around here is like, dude, I'm not a nobody. People know who the fuck I am, and just because I was in the military and I was around, I've been around all over the place and traveled and this, that, and the other. People don't really remember me, I guess, I was one of the first pros in the state of South Carolina. I remember I moved to South Carolina back in 2007, 2008, somewhere around there, and begin my tear as a fighter. And right now I'm ranked at the number one ranked pro fighter at lightweight and welterweight in the state of South Carolina, and based at Tapology.com, and it's just me. I'm just, gearing up for the next one, but I'm talking with the promoter from Fight Lab, and I'm trying to fight again back in January here in Charlotte.
Well, that'll be good. Make sure, we stay in contact, and, I'd like to have you on before that fight and after that fight, and, and we'll talk all about what's going on in the fighting down there and what you're up to. And, a big thank you, from the, Scalfani friends and family for what you did. You didn't just you want to fight for yourself, and you want to fight for everybody who's behind you, but you want to fight for something else that night. You want to fight for something higher than a lot of people will understand, and I know you understand that. The Scalfani family was all watching you, the friends of the Scalfani family, the employees, people. That boy Brian Scalfani touched a lot of lives, and last week
he really
came
did.
on, and he touched a lot of lives, and a lot of people were watching your fight, and so it was that fight meant a lot. What it meant to friends and family of yours. It meant different up here. Everybody thanks you for that, and if you have any sponsors you want to shout out real quick, or anything you got going on.
Yeah, man, definitely. First and foremost, man, the Scalfani family and Gus Scalfani he's had my back. So what people don't understand is professional fighters is, especially me, I'm a military vet. I did 12 and a half years in the Air Force, and all the while I was trying to make a career out of fighting professionally. I was trying to fight in Bellator. I was trying to, make a career for myself as being a professional fighter. And, but also, trying to be a military individual as well, trying to be in the military and make a career for myself as that as well. But, my love is all about teaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, teaching mixed martial arts, and fighting. And so I had an opportunity to moved to Myrtle Beach, where I'd always wanted to retire and always wanted to live and stuff like that, and become, full-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor, head MMA coach, and fight full-time. However, it was a big giant pay cut. I won't go into details of how big of a pay cut, but it was a big pay cut, man. And what sponsors do is they help me survive, man. They really do. It's if I didn't have sponsors within this community or within the MMA community or the fighting or anything, there's no way I could fight at the level that I do. There is absolutely no way.
Right. A lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people just see, they don't see the other side of MMA. They just see UFC, the Conor McGregor coming out doing his song and dancing, going home with money.
Man,
they don't see the guys that are out here every single day, every morning and night, and they don't see the guys that have to, do truck driving jobs like myself or in moonlight at night as a boxer or an MMA fighter for the love of it and make zero money in the long run, People don't see that.
Regional MMA, regional MMA fighters don't make a whole lot of money. Like I may make $1,000 to $2,000 to $3,000 a fight, if that. And it all depends on your opponent. It all depends on the actual show that you're fighting on and everything else. And it's just a big ordeal, man. So like sponsors help me pay for my trainers. Like I pay $40 a week to my boxing coach. I see him twice a week. I pay $50 a week to my personal trainer or to my strength and conditioning coach. I see him twice a week, and I get a good deal. I get a good deal on all these people. You know what I'm saying? Because they look out for me, and they know the level that I'm at. And they want me to promote them because I'm a professional fighter. They're like, hey, he's training with me. I'll give him a good deal. So I'm making a deal. So I'm paying $140 per week just to work my boxing and work my strength and conditioning. That doesn't include my food that I have to pay for, which has to be, top of the line. Like I like to eat organic food just because it's more healthy for you and it's better for you. I don't eat that strictly every single time because a lot of times the money doesn't allow me to do that. I have to, I pay for gas and my travel fees and everything else here and there, my medical fees to get my medicals done and this, that, and the other. Like, it adds up, man. I probably put 13,000 miles on my car almost every single fight camp. I have a 2012 Honda Civic that I have put 102,000 miles on since 2012. I bought a brand spanking new, and I have 102,000 miles on it, which is, a lot of people are like, damn, man, like, you're crazy, but I travel constantly to get the best training, and, whether it's I have to put, gas on a credit card or I have sponsorship money or whatnot, that is where it goes to, man. It doesn't go to anything extracurricular at all. It's like my sponsorship money goes to help support me and help me survive and help me live and help me to try to make this dream of mine to be, a Conor McGregor that is making millions of dollars and buying fur coats and Gucci and this and that and the other bullshit that he's buying and Bentleys and shit, this is unheard of for MMA fighters. He's one of the first guys to ever be able to do that shit. And,
right.
Without sponsors, we can't make it work.
Exactly. I don't mean to cut you off. If you want to stay on here and continue the discussion, right now coming on the Hollering with Hammer show on VictoryLaneRadio.com is a fellow fighter, Derrick Brown from Fitness Edge MMA, who also fought at USFFC 29 and dedicated his win to Brian Scalfani. Derrick, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How y'all doing tonight?
Good. Derrick Kennington is also on the line. We were just talking. Derrick, do you want to stay on the line, or would you like to just shout out your sponsors and and I'll go with Derrick Brown.
Yeah, man. Let me hand it over to Derrick Brown and let him do his thing. But right now I just want to say, thank you to the Sclafani family for everything they have done for me for the past, however many fights they have sponsored me. I just don't even know, can't even put it in perspective of how well they've done. It's strong. I just want to give a shout out to Strong Board, Balance Boards that have helped me so much. Red Bridges Barbecue in Shelby, North Carolina. I just have so many sponsors, man. It's unreal, man. That I just want to continue to thank, and if I forgot anybody, just thank you so much, and I apologize. And Derrick, you're the man.
Hey, Derrick Kennington, one last thing before you go. I'd like to have you come on in the future. You had just touched on Colin McGregor and the UFC and stuff. I'd like to have you come on one day and me and you get into the discussion of what's going on, like the current situation with UFC, if you wanted to touch on it. And also, real quick, I just want to let everybody know in the beginning of this program, we let everybody know that the show tonight is sponsored by Defend Clothing Company, and that's at defendclothingco.com. You can find them on Instagram at Defend Clothing and on Facebook at Defend Clothing Co. So, Derrick Kennington, thanks for coming on tonight, man.
All right, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, later.
Okay, yep. Derrick Brown, MMA fighter, coming off a win at USFFC 29. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good tonight. Feeling real good right now. How y'all doing?
We're doing good down here. Me and Derrick Kennington, we got into a discussion there. We went a little longer than expected, but it was good that you were able to call in tonight. Now, you fought at USFFC 29, just like Derrick Kennington did, and at the end of the fight, you had a battle. You had a battle in your fight, and obviously you walked away with the victory, which was great. And at the end, you dedicated the fight to Brian Scalfani. Brian Scalfani. Last week we did the whole show for Brian Scalfani and the Scalfani family, and so if you just want to touch in on your thoughts on Brian Scalfani before we go into all about the fight.
Sure. Like when we heard about Brian earlier in the week last week, so like right after we heard it, it was deeply saddening. But right after that, like I made up my mind, like I was gonna dedicate my fight to him, and once I decided that, there was no way I could lose that fight. So I just wanted to dedicate that fight to him because the time that I spent training with Brian, it was always fun. He was always happy. He was just a great guy to be around all the time. So I just wanted to dedicate that fight to him.
Yeah, that was great. The family really appreciated it. It was very emotional. A lot of people in the New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, the tri-state area were watching that on pay-per-view, and it was just a great event, especially since both of you got the wins. Now let's get into your fight a little bit. What did you feel going into that fight? Your opponent, kind of a wild man, kind of a little different style of a fighter than average. I've actually seen him. I've actually seen a fight of his before. I recognize the name. What was that like going into that, especially with the weight of what went on with the Brian Scalfani and trying to get into your own game plan that you would normally walk into a cage with?
With the weight of Brian, like it made it a little harder because my mind was also preoccupied with thinking about that, but at the same time, I know that like he would want me to concentrate on the fight as well. So like that's what I try to do once I stepped in the cage. But going in against Chase Gamble, like I fought Chase once before as an amateur. He was one of the first fighters to ever call me out in my amateur career, and he was one of the first fighters that I really lost a round to because he controlled me with his wrestling for the first round. But after that, like it kind of went like this way, the same way with this fight. This fight was more evenly matched, I think. with my takedown defense, and I think I progressed in like my striking and my submission game, which I think gave me a bigger edge. Plus, also having the edge, I think, and mentally, like I'm already one up on them. So I think those things played a big role in this fight that just happened.
Now, right towards the end of that fight, and man, I wish I could remember back. I had watched the fight 3 or 4 times afterwards. Right before he went down, he ate a shot. Now, I'm not sure if you recall what I'm talking about, but he ate a shot and kept on coming at you. Now, how do you feel as a fighter when you throw a shot like that? Hopefully, you can recall the incident that I'm talking about. When you hit a fighter like that and he eats it and comes right back at you, does that change anything in your mindset at that, like right at that particular moment in time?
No, for me it doesn't. Some fighters, they get a little flustered, but for me, like if you eat a shot, I mean, you're gonna eat a lot more. I mean, you eating a shot just means some fighters have a game face where they can eat a shot and keep coming forward and keep that game face on like it's not hurt them. But the shots I remember him eating though, like he ate them, but his facial expression said otherwise. Like you could tell they were hurting him, and he actually did start slowing down, and he wasn't as aggressive as he was in like the first round. So him eating shots,
yeah, absolutely. The last one you threw, the one I'm talking about, I'm gonna try to find that video and isolate that and send that to you. I've been just so busy this past week, I didn't get a chance to do that, and I bring it up to you now, and it's like, it's kind of strange. Why am I bringing it up? But one particular shot he ate, and I've seen UFC guys go down on that same particular shot that you threw at him. And he ate it. You could see the look in his eyes, and then he went down right away. And I was just curious on that. Now there were two low blows on the fight during that fight. Is that a subject you want to touch? I mean that's part of the game. It happens. Is that something you would want to get into?
I mean, it's part of the game, like I fought 3 times a year, and each fight I've been hit in the nuts at least twice each fight. So it's like, it's part of the game. I know, I mean, it sucks that it happens because it kind of kills your momentum sometimes, but I mean, as a fighter, you got to know that, it's accidental. You hope that it's accidental, and, and when the ref catches you, refs are really good about like giving you the allowed amount of time to like recover. The first shot, I mean, it was a little clipper, so I didn't like really it didn't take me that long to recover from that. The second one kind of snuck up on me because it came from behind and I wasn't really expecting it. So, yeah, I mean, I took a little more time to recover from that one. But other than that, low blows happen. There's nothing intentional, nothing dirty behind them. They just happen as part of the game. You got to get your mind right and keep going.
As a viewer, the one that came from behind looked accidental. I don't know. I wasn't in the ring. I don't know what you thought at the moment that happened. Now, take me through that real quick. When you're in a fight, you're amped up like that. MMA is different from boxing, obviously. You're amped up like that. Your mind's going 100 miles an hour, I would assume, and you take a shot to the nuts. Every guy listening out here has taken a shot to the nuts at some point in their life. It's dropped many guys to their knees. So my question is, when you get hit in the nuts like hardcore like that during a fight, that, like you said, I mean, does that change like the whole thought process, or are you just so amped up that sometimes you can work right through it and keep it moving, or is it something that lingers throughout the rest of the fight?
Well, for me personally, the first thing I think about when I get hit in the nuts is holy fuck, that really hurt. And I'm just like, holy shit, like I need a little break. Hopefully the ref saw it, and if not, you gotta kind of man up, so to speak, and like try and go through it, especially if the ref didn't see it or like doesn't think it was a legit nut shot. But sometimes it can change the course of a fight, and sometimes it can't. Because I remember when Demetrius Johnson fought John Dodson, he got hit in the nuts, and the ref was getting ready to stop him, but he said, no, I'm fine, and kept going because he wanted to keep that pressure. And I think sometimes when that happens, like some people, when nut shots happen, the person that it happens to, like sometimes they might back off just a little bit to try and get themselves on the cover, and then you got others, you know, it kind of like wakes them up and like amps them up even more. And some don't even feel it because they're adrenaline rush. I mean, you might feel it later once the adrenaline dump comes, but it all depends on the person, I think.
Yeah, we've all been hitting the nuts, and I personally going down. I mean, I've had women hit me in the nuts, and I've dropped. So I was just wondering on that. Yeah. A woman will take you down with the nut shot. But I was just wondering in that one shot from behind, like what was looking back at it? Do you feel that was intentional, or do you feel that was accidental?
I feel like it was accidental. Like I look back at it, and apparently, like some of my friends, they look back at it and they say like it looked like it was accidental. And I give them benefit of the doubt. Like Chase is a real respectful dude. Like I have no respect for that guy, and I feel like it was accidental. I got laughed at for how I ran across the cage. Like it just caught me off guard because it came from an unexpected spot because it came from behind, and I was just like, what the hell did he just hit me with? And I was just, because I wasn't expecting to get hit in the nuts from that angle anyway.
Yeah. Now, go off topic real quick. What's your personal take on eye pokes? Getting poked in the eye during a fight. There was a couple fights that night. I do not recall off the top of my head the fighters that were involved in it that took pokes to the eyes, and we know there's been careers ended in MMA. From taking a finger in the eye socket. What is your personal opinion on that? Do you see anything to change that? Do you see that as something that's always going to be in the sport, no matter how they try to enforce it, or do you see somehow they can enforce it?
I mean, eye pokes, they're going to happen with the sport. It's not like boxing or K1 or glory fighting. Like we have our fingers, our tips are open unless they can make some kind of special glove where they cover the fingertips where it's not as bad as we get eye poked. But because of the sport and how we use our hands to grapple, like eye pokes are going to happen, especially with the different styles from karate to Muay Thai. With having open palms, like eye pokes are going to happen. You hope to God they're not intentional, but for the ones that are intentional, people should be fined for those, because those are very detrimental to a fighter. If you take away a fighter's eyes, you're not just taking away that fight for him. You're taking away his career, because a lot of fighters can't recover from those. Can't recover from like having eye surgery, or like their eyes are never the same again. So, I mean, eye pokes are part of the game. You just have to be mindful of them.
We've all heard the stories of the fighters that get detached retinas, from an eye poke. And that's why I was just wondering, from a professional MMA fighter such as yourself, I was just wondering if you've ever thought of any kind of penalties. They accidentally happen, yes, but we've seen brutal examples that were not accidental. We've seen guys do it on purpose and cause injuries. That's why I was just wondering if you saw any kind of possible way to curb that. Accidents are going to happen. Nutshot accidents are going to happen. But I was just wondering, as a professional fighter that gets in the cage and puts it all on the line, those are two aspects that could end your career and hurt your personal life, not just in the ring. I was just wondering if you had any ideas that could try to curb that permanently, the non-accidental injuries that are caused.
I mean, you want to start like covering these non-accidental injuries. I mean, the best thing you can do is start finding the fighters that these things that cause these injuries, because you never know. Like if you need to have I would say get a committee or something to look into it. It's like to see in terms of whether it was accidental or intentional. If it was intentional, take some of that guy's money, because I mean that'll be the way to send a message for you're not gonna tolerate this, straighten up your skills, tighten up your techniques or whatever to like prevent these eye pokes, and because these are, like I said, these are career-ending injuries, and not just career, but also in your personal life.
Personally, I would say, suspensions of time off, not just fines of money for non-accidental. And my reason for that is Derrick Kennington was just on the program, and he was talking about, there's, guys on the smaller circuits, there's not much money to be made there. And
exactly, yeah.
When we're looking at the UFC guys that are blatantly sticking their fingers in dudes' eyes, $25,000 is really nothing to a, to a Silva or, any of these guys. It's really nothing to them, and we all know UFC probably just pays it anyway. It's a done deal. How about some suspension time, or it's just something that needs to be addressed, I think, going into the future. Now, switching gears, do you have anything lined up, or are you in any kind of talks about an upcoming fight, or are you just coming off the last one and still on the high of that?
No, I'm not. I don't have anything in the works right now. I took this week off just to heal and recover, just because I've been training really hard. Next week I'll be back in the gym, ready for whatever comes my way, because I'm doing heavyweight and light heavyweight classes now. So I'm trying to open my game up with that. As far as still riding high from last week, I enjoyed that win last week. I lived in that moment, but you kind of got to move on. Life goes on. I don't want to dwell on it. Am I happy in the stat that I won? Yes. I'm not going to dwell on it though. I'm ready to move on to the next thing, get to bigger and better things.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you also train at Fitness Edge MMA, and you can find them at Fitness Edge MMA on Facebook. Do you have any sponsors or anything coming up that you'd like to tell the people about?
I do have a few sponsors I want to thank. I want to thank Unique Kennels for one. They're one of my very first sponsors that stuck with me through thick and thin. So big shouts out to them. Some of the best bulldogs you could ever buy, the cutest puppies ever. I also want to thank Hero Tattoo. They do all my tattoo work, and I'm going to see them real soon. It's the start of my back tattoo. I want to thank 360 Healthcare and Dr. Brian Brown for keeping me healthy. Without having Dr. Brian Brown in my corner now, keeping me healthy is one of the biggest things that has improved my game, because I'm a lot healthier now. I'm not as sore and beat up, and if I have anything wrong with me, I can go get it checked on. I also want to thank Keith Hare, strength and conditioning. That was another thing that played a big part of my fight, my strength and conditioning. I didn't have Keith Hare the first time I fought Chase Gamble. I had him. I've had Keith Hare all this year, and each one of my fights I've gotten better and looked better, and I just feel a lot better when I'm training. And he's taken my game to a next level, and he's continuing to take my game to the next level. So those are just my sponsors that I really want to thank. I also want to just thank my team, Fitness Edge MMA and Grand Strand BJJ, because without them, I wouldn't be where I am today.
All right. One thing I want to touch on real quick, and this is totally off topic. You just brought up something in your sponsors. If I say it wrong, tell me what it is. But I think you said 360 Health and Dr. Brown. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, Dr. Brown. Yeah.
Okay.
360 Health Care, Dr. Brown.
As an MMA fighter, how important is it to have the right medical people around you and the right doctor, and the right care for anything you need as an MMA fighter? Just if you could explain to the people, when you're a fighter like that, you need the top medical care that you can possibly get around you.
Oh yes, most definitely. Having medical care, having a doctor that you can go see anytime is big. From little bumps and bruises, from training to big injuries, from leg breaks, anything like that, muscle strains, tearing something possibly, or just getting something checked out or worked on, being adjusted. Having a doctor that you can go and have all that done is just, the words can't describe how good that is, because as you can see, the fight game is pretty brutal. So training like that nonstop every day, you get these little bumps and bruises, and doctors help keep you maintained throughout this entire thing. Through camps, they keep your body healthy, which is And health is the biggest thing. You don't want to go into a fight already beat up, because you're just going to get more beat up in the fight anyway. So being healthy is like a big part of this sport, which I think we need more doctors in like gyms and stuff just to like help.
Yeah, they definitely do. And the reason why I bring that up is because, people watch these fights and, they turn off the TV, they go to bed, that's it, to the next fight. They might not see that fighter again. They don't know who that fighter is. They don't really know what goes on in that fighter. They don't know if that fighter works a full-time job like Derrick Kennington were talking about earlier. Derrick Kennington was talking about, the food he has to eat and the price of that food, and things like that. And when you're, these small circuits, you just don't have the money. And the healthcare is extreme. The wear and tear you take on your body. Personally, I rode bulls professionally, and you need doctors for that. You need to go to doctors for that. And it's the same as I see it in boxing and as in MMA. People don't realize that. You get in a fight, you go on TV, you have your fight, and, you need to be checked out afterwards. A lot of times you get checked out afterwards, and, it's beyond just the doctor you see in the ring when somebody gets, messed up and the doctor comes in the ring. It's after. That's why I bring that up. And you said that was Health 360 and Dr. Brown? 360
Healthcare, Dr. Brown. Dr. Brown, he comes to our gym on Mondays or whatever to check on us, and then we also have his phone stuff with him, so if we need to call him during the week and set up an appointment to come see him, he squeezes us in any way he can. So, that's just the awesome thing that we have at our gym. Yeah, that's great. Now, I got a few more minutes. Is there anything you want to say? I mean, the time is yours. It's uncensored. You can go any direction you want. Is there anything, any last words Derrick Brown, professional MMA fighter, would like to say? Man, I just want to thank you for having me on the show. I hope to come back and talk some more to you guys. I have fun doing these kind of things right here. And I just want to say, like, MMA has been a big part of my life. Ever since I stopped playing football, it's gave me something to give my extra energy to. Without this, I feel like sometimes I'd go crazy. So, MMA is keeps me sane, especially like dealing with tough weeks. Especially like for example with Brian, having the gym and having MMA like really helped me keep everything together and focused. So it's not just, MMA is not just a sport for us fighters, it's our lifestyle, this is our life. So, us trying to, we love to go put on performances and shows from it, it doesn't stop at the show for us, this is our life. So I just wanted to get that point across too. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you coming on tonight on kind of short notice. I'd definitely like to have you back on in the future. Anything you got coming up, anything you want to talk about anytime, just private message me on Facebook, and I'd definitely like to have you on. So I appreciate you coming on tonight. Definitely. I appreciate you having me, and be sure, as soon as the first fight news I get, you'll be the first one to know. All right, thank you. All right, thank you. Have a good one. Yep. All right, everybody, that was Derrick Brown, MMA fighter. Out of Fitness Edge MMA. You can find them on Facebook at Fitness Edge MMA. Both of them guys, Derrick Brown and Derrick Kennington, picked up wins at USFFC 29 on pay-per-view last Saturday. It was a great event. They both dedicated their fights to Brian Scalfani, and the whole Scalfani family appreciates that. So moving forward now, I'd just like to briefly touch on tomorrow night, as darkness dies in Stanford. I will be there and go Facebook Live from that event on the Victory Lane Radio Facebook page. And I'm going to do one song on that, and then I'm going to go live on one song on a bunch of stuff on the Hollering with Hammer page and my personal page. So if you guys just follow along, and that'll be fun. That's As Darkness Dies. It's a Seaside in Stanford, off of Cove Road. Just Google it. That's why I tell you, good peoples of the world, just Google it. I fuck up all the information all the time.
So if you hear me say something, just double check the facts. Just Google it. You know, that's why Google's there. You know, that's why Al Gore invented the internet. So, I mean, just do that. Hopefully I got all that information right. You know, I'll touch briefly on a few things. I appreciate everybody's support. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you know, YouTube. I'm going to have a lot of YouTube videos up this weekend from the concert and from a couple other events I'm actually going to be going to. So check the YouTube page. Everybody who listens, everybody who supports the show, I appreciate it. You know, the whole Brian Scalfani thing last week was a different type of deal for me. You know, I appreciate everybody who came on last week and this week. I appreciate the people who fought in the ring on pay-per-view for Brian Scalfani. You know, his family, you know, his father has gone above and beyond for me. And, you know, I don't really get to like tell him that. You know, I'm not a mushy guy, and neither is he. So I think the show helped the family. I think they understood, you know, what I was trying to accomplish with that. They also know I can't speak that good and, you know, my nonsense, but I think it worked out well. You know, obviously I like to thank VictoryLaneRadio.com for putting my bullshit on the air. And, I actually have something big coming up soon. I just gotta work out the kinks on everything. But yeah, Donald Trump is sitting in the White House. Oh yeah, real quick, you know, once again to all the veterans, everybody who fought for the country, everybody in the service, you know, every military person, you know, Hollering with Hammer Show and Victory Lane Radio, and we appreciate you, obviously. You know, thanks for doing what you do and all that stuff like that. You know, that's a big thing. You know, the head cheese himself behind the glass tonight, you know, was a military man for many years. You heard Derrick Kennington was a military man for many years. We appreciate that. We're going to be wrapping up here. We're going to be wrapping up here in a couple of minutes. I had some information to go over, but we can do that next week. So, you know, thanks everybody for listening. VictoryLaneRadio.com, Hollering with Hammer. Head to the Facebook page, Hollering with Hammer on Facebook. You know, give the page a like. Check out everybody who sponsors the Facebook, everybody who sponsors the show. Head over to Victory Lane Radio on Facebook, man. That's where it's at. Check all that stuff out that's going on there. And I'll be seeing everybody tomorrow night in Stanford. I can't wait for that. And, hey, a little Screevy in Kentucky, man. What up? You got an E10 stick of dynamite on your hands, man. Do the right thing. With that, people, I'm going to leave you tonight. Everybody be careful, be safe. Don't nobody get arrested this weekend. I ain't got no bail money for you. I ain't even got bail money for myself this weekend. Be easy. Take care, man. And I will be back next Friday night, Hollering with Hammer. Follow along on the Facebook page, you know. And I'm just going to drop the mic and walk the fuck out.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Bump and Run. Check us out next Monday at 7 p.m. on the Victory Lane Radio Network. Couldn't hear the show live and want to hear it again? Tell your friends you can hear it all on VictoryLaneRadio.com.
HDRadioNetwork.com.
This broadcast